Assalamu alaikum. I'm Hussam Ahmad, a community activist here at Darul Uloom, New York, and we are very pleasure to have Mr. Tom Suozzi, the congressman, with us today at Darul Uloom, New York. And we're going to ask a few questions. Tom was very kind enough to take some time out from his busy schedule and spend some time with us.
Let me just say
Welcome.
assalamu alaikum to you and assalamu alaikum to all the people that are watching.
Welcome, Tom. We are very proud to have you here, and you have the Muslims community support for you running for governor. However, as the community have few questions,
Yeah.
and they want us to ask you.
Well, first, let me say Ramadan Mubarak to you and to everybody who's watching. And I'm excited to be here, and I'm grateful for the great honor to be here with you today.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. So now we go with the questions. One of the toughest question, I think, and they put it as number one, but it's why do you think the Muslim need to support you, and what do you offer them? Because they have been in this country for long and they are not happy with the politics.
You know, I'm a first-generation American. My father was born in Italy, and he came to the United States as a young boy. And people don't remember this, but, you know, he was here, he went to college, then he fought in World War II, and then he came back and he went to Harvard Law School after World War II on the GI Bill.
God bless.
But he couldn't get a job at a law firm because nobody liked the Italians, because the Italians, Mussolini had teamed up with Hitler in World War II. So they said, oh, you're a fascist, or you're in the mafia. So he was very discriminated against when he first got here. And if there's one thing, my father was the best man I ever knew. And if there's one thing my father taught me, is you have to treat every single human being with respect, regardless of their ethnicity, their color, their religion, their language. Everybody's a human being who has to be treated as a human being. And that's what America is founded on. It's supposed to be that all men and women are created equal, but we don't see that. You know, look how the African Americans were treated here in the United States. So every politician says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I was the mayor of my hometown for 8 years. I was the county executive for 8 years. I've been in Congress for the past 6 years. I have a record, and I have always tried to lift people up and include every community, including the Muslim community. I was elected county executive of Nassau County on January 1st of 2002. I took office. That was right after September 11th. Yes. I put Muslim Americans in my government during that time. And I lifted Muslim Americans up. I have a guy on my campaign now who's the head of technology and strategy for me, who came from Texas, came back to New York to work on my campaign as a volunteer for the rest of the campaign, because he said, when I was a young boy, 19 years old, when your election was canceled on September 11th, you came into the headquarters, you made a speech to all the volunteers, and you came over to me and said, if anybody gives you a hard time, I have your back. He says, now I have your back.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks, Tom. The next question is, hate crime rate, as you know, in New York City and New York State is very high among Muslims and Jews.
And Asians.
And Asians, yes, of course. So what are your plans? How do you think we should address that?
Well, my number one issue is to address the crime problem we face in New York City. I endorsed Eric Adams very early on in his race. He asked me to be his deputy mayor. I said, I'm not going to be your deputy mayor. I'm running for governor. And I agree with him that we must address the crime problem that exists. So there's intervention, you know, to address the crime. And there's also long-term prevention, which is about education. And I think by having Muslim Americans in my administration at high-level positions, it will be a good way to have Muslim Americans at the table helping to influence policy and address problems like that, as well as African Americans, Latinos, Jewish, all the other groups. But the government has to look like the people we represent.
Thanks. One of the questions that our community has, you know, the Muslims take halal food, and our children are having some issue at the public schools. So our community leaders, they want a halal food provision at the public school. Do you think, is this something that we can discuss? Or
no, we should do it. We should do it. 10% of the children, 10% of the children in the New York City public school system are Muslims.
Yes, they are.
And so we have to make sure that the Muslims are represented. And I think not only halal food, but we should be looking at having Muslim holidays in schools as well. I've worked on that in my congressional district and have written letters and helped to get Eid celebrated, for example, in some of the school districts in my congressional district.
Thank you for that. The next question is, what is your message? Obviously, we know no community is perfect, but I think we are American-loving citizens, and we come here, and especially after 9/11, there has been issues of all different kinds. What is your message? How we can participate more in American politics and building America and be a part of the nation?
Well, let me say this directly to the people.
Sure.
Democracy only works when the people are involved. And we need the Muslim Americans to participate in the elections so that the elected officials, the politicians, see that their voice is represented. And that requires people to get involved in campaigns, to volunteer and to vote, to make sure that you're part of the process, because that's how you get the elected officials to listen to you. When the conversation is only controlled by the far left and the far right, and the people are left out, then the politicians don't listen. They only listen to the far left and the far right. That's what's killing our country's discourse. I always say that I'm a proven executive, trained as a certified public accountant and attorney. I'm a mayor, a county executive, a member of Congress. That's number one, proven executive. Number two, I'm a common sense Democrat. I'm not going to pander to the left. I'm not going to back down to the right. I'll work with people to try and solve problems and help people. And number three, my agenda is very clear. Crime, reduce crime. Work with the mayor of New York City and throughout the state to reduce crime. Lower taxes. People are suffering from the taxes. It's too expensive. There's an affordability crisis in our state. People are leaving in big numbers to go to Florida and North Carolina and South Carolina and Texas and Arizona. We have to reduce the taxes. And number three, we have to help our children in the schools. We have to lift up the troubled schools and help those children to succeed. Because if you don't succeed in school, you don't have a chance to succeed in life. And 50% of the people at Rikers Island have a learning disability. 75% of the people in all jails have a drug, alcohol, or mental health problem. Let's help our children at a young age. And another issue I'm now talking about is corruption. We've got a big problem with corruption in New York State. We've seen all the governors leaving scandal. The attorney general, the lieutenant governor just got arrested for corruption. So many legislators have lost their jobs. New York State was declared the most corrupt state in the United States of America by the Washington Post. I am going to attack that problem head on. That's why I'm running for governor of New York State.
Very impressive. Very impressive. The last question, Tom, we have for you is, what are your thoughts on youth empowerment, housing, college tuition, and all these programs? As you know, we are a newly immigrated community, and we are struggling. So what's your plan on that?
Well, I see a lot of the new immigrants are very, very committed to education.
Yeah.
We need to be promoting education. And we need to be promoting children to get educated. But we have to recognize also that 60% of Americans, 66% of New Yorkers do not graduate from college. Even if you don't go to college, we need to be encouraging you to get a job skill as an electrician or a plumber or a carpenter or a computer programmer or a radio frequency operator. We have to lift children up. And part of that has to do with the families, and it has to do with social services and helping to lift kids up to succeed in life.
Well, thank you, Tom. We're really very proud to welcome you, and we look forward to be working.
Dhanyavad. What do I say? Dhanyavad, shukran.
Thank you, and thank you, Darul Uloom, for giving us an opportunity. One of the questions that my brother wants to know, this is a great institution. They have about 400 to 500, now actually 600 students here. And they give a faith-based education. That's how they started. Now they're giving regular education as well. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think?
I think it's great. I went to all Catholic schools. I went to St. Patrick's Grade School. I went to Chaminade All Boys Catholic High School. I went to a Catholic college. I went to a Catholic law school, Fordham Law School, Boston College. I encourage religious institutions. We need people with values in our society because we want people to have a sense of right and wrong so that they can contribute to making society a better place. So I encourage institutions like this to be successful. And if I may, I just want to wish everyone an Eid Mubarak. I know the holiday's coming up soon, and thank you so much for having me with you today.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.